Hey Texans, we're back. The weather is warming up and so is the fishing. Our guides say that the bass are on the beds and the topwater bite for trout is on fire. So sit back, relax, and get ready for a brand new season of the Texas Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome back to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. We're your hosts, Captain Rick Murphy and Brie Gabrielle, here in our brand new studio reporting in style. Rick, it is so great to be back on the air. This is so beautiful.
It is beautiful, Brie. And you know what's so cool about this place is everybody likes a little fishing shack. Yeah. You always got to have a place to kind of retreat to. Some guys use their garage, but we got our own shack here so that when we want to rig something up and get ready for the show, we're ready to go.
We're ready to go in our happy place. And Rick, someone we always need by our side is Dave Farrell, and he makes us very happy over at the Workbench. Dave, are you feeling like a fish out of water over there?
I'm feeling pretty good. The only thing that this place is missing is a snack machine.
Oh.
And thank goodness it's not here because I kind of gained some weight during the off season.
Well, I think you look darn good.
I'm filling up this space, though.
You're
That's
filling
what I
up
figured.
your
I needed to fill up this space a little better.
You're filling it up very nicely.
Yes, I am.
All right, Rick. Before we introduce our first captain, we just want to say we know everyone out there is dealing with a new norm as the information is constantly changing, and we're all doing the best we can to adapt. But we are here to take everyone's mind off of the situation for a while with a little bit of fishing. So stay healthy and please listen to your local authorities. On that note, let's introduce our first captain from the Alvey Reels Middle Coast region, Bink Grimes. It's good to have you back, Bink. Let's hear your report.
It's good to be back. Fishing is as good as it can get right now. East Matagorda Bay has been the hot spot to catch heavy trout. Anyone, regardless of your ability, can catch a big trout right now. Many think you got to get out of the boat and wade, but really right now, you can catch them anywhere in East Matagorda Bay drifting over 5 foot of water. I had fish up to 8 pounds last week on Mirror Lure Little Johns underneath the mid-coast cork, and just been really good. The live shrimp bite is even better. Bait camps are beginning to catch more live shrimp. You can't catch them on plastics or live bait right now. The south shoreline of West Matagorda Bay has been good in the guts on the falling tide. Ray Sexton of Palacios said he's been tossing magic grass soft plastics on 1/16 ounce jig heads, and for trout to 4 pounds. Also Mirror Lure Softines and the Mirror Lure Little Johns have been working well, as have Chicken on a Chain, Bass Assassins in the 4-inch sea shad and the 5-inch straight tail shad. Guy Lynn Smith from Port O'Connor said this topwater bite's been good over sand and grass. Good trout are being caught along the jetty on Bass Assassins fished against the rocks. They're using those Glow Bass Assassins and Morning Glory there. Live shrimp's becoming available at the bait camps there as well. Solid trout's been caught on the edges of the reefs on shrimp rigged about 3 feet deep under a popping cork. In Rockport, the same thing. Those minnows have been showing up, and waders are catching trout over sand and grass on Mirror Lure custom corkies on the incoming tide, and they're also free-lining shrimp along the channels. The photo there, wading with soft plastics in West Matagorda Bay, has been pretty good on the incoming tide for Ray Sexton there, as he caught them on magic grass soft plastics. We'll go to redfish. The up and down spring tides have determined whether redfish are playing ball this time of year. Swelling spring tides, we're pushing fish in the back lakes in Matagorda, like Lake Austin, Oyster Lake, and Crab Lake. Our better incoming tides have been in the afternoon, so you can actually sleep in and have a better bite in the afternoon. In Port O'Connor, Conti, Pringle, and Shoalwater lakes are good for waders and drifters. The jetty there is just holding lots and lots of bull reds on crabs and mullet. Most have been in the 25-pound range. We ask you, man, please treat those big spawners with respect. Get them back in the water. Take your picture and get them back in the water as quick as you can. Palacios anglers, they're finding reds around Coon Island on the reefs there, on live shrimp. The waders have tossed broken backs, waist-deep water around Greens Bow. Redfish have a tough time turning down a gold spoon here lately, as with Bass Assassin and Little Johns. Places like Greens and Cottons and the middle grounds have been really, really good for redfish in West Matagorda Bay. Live baiters have really done the best, though, on shrimp under a popping cork, rigged about a foot underneath the cork. high tides when they cover up the top of those reefs. Those points and the drop-offs around them are holding lots and lots of redfish. There's a photo there of a youngster from Dallas who found him a big old redfish in East Matagorda Bay. Those same areas that we're catching redfish are also good for black drum. Guide Michael Roth of Matagorda said those spring tides are putting a lot of those keeper drum on the shell in spots like Mad Island and Shell Island. Again, live shrimp is the bait of choice. Same things happen on the shorelines in the Espiritu Santo Bay and San Antonio Bay. Black drum are a great fish for kids, especially during spring break this time of year, especially when a lot of them are out of school right now. They're awesome table fare. Really, really white meat and just a really good fish to either grill or, fry. So, but we've been catching a lot of black drum. They're everywhere right now. The big black drum are showing up in the channels, are on the Matagorda Jetty, Port O'Connor Jetty, Port Aransas Jetty, and the Freeport Jetty. Just lots and lots of big old drum. And as a reminder, you can only keep drum in Texas from 14 to 30 inches. Anything over 30 inches has to be put back in the bay. Take care of them just like you do the big redfish spawners. We'll go offshore. At Freeport, guide Mike Siegel of Real Thrill Charters said that red snapper bite has been good in state waters inside of 9 nautical miles. Most of those fish have been over rocks and reefs with easy 4 fish limits up to 16 pounds. We hadn't had a whole lot of calm days, but we're about to start getting a few of them according to the weather forecast. Michael Roth of Matagorda said that red snapper are good for him in about 40 foot of water on sardine and squid, and he's catching them just a few minutes off the beach. Once you break our jetties, it's probably a 10-minute boat ride. He's going out and getting a snapper real quick. So we're happy to be back. We're happy to be fishing. The fishing is as good as I've seen it in the spring right now in Texas. So we're just going to keep putting a smile on our face and keep wetting the line.
All right, great report, Bink. Way to start us off for the new 2020 season. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Middle Coast region. He says that offshore, the trout at Port O'Connor jetties on the live shrimp under popping cork. Redfish are good in the back lakes on live shrimp. Offshore is also good for the red snappers in state waters. So, Brie, you want to check out this? Look at this new
so gorgeous.
boat. We got Skeeter Bay Boats as a sponsor. Obviously, they make some great bass boats too. So a lot of our bass guys, Matt Loescher is one of the Skeeter guys and runs a Skeeter. So I'm really excited to hear.
Well, I know my favorite color, so
Yeah,
this is nice. This
I
will look
know.
nice in front of my house. And
Okay,
in the water.
there you go.
Okay, up next is our Upper Fresh Region guide. Johnny, guys, big fish are always being caught in your region, so give us something to look forward to, Johnny.
And welcome to our viewers, and I hope everyone's already catching some big fish or at least making plans for a spring trip because it's finally here. Captain Rick, as you know, I live on this world-famous Lake Fork, and big things were happening here in early March. Major League Fishing Pros came to town. They completed the Stage 3 fishing tournament, and they had some huge catches. They had record catches and 2 fish over 10 pounds. So, also that same weekend, the Bassmaster Nation Kayak Series tournament was here, and they also had record catches. So things are going on around Lake Fork. But I'll be reporting on the crappie spawn in a minute. But first, let's kick off this season with an update from Captain Bill Carey from Striper Express. They have a service up on Lake Texoma just north of here. And the Stripers on Lake Texoma, Captain Bill Carey says that they are biting. He's the owner and operator of that Striper Express guide service, and the Striper's on the prowl and being caught daily on Lake Texoma right now. Texoma, it has a daily limit of 10 fish a person a day. Wherever place else in Texas, it's only 5, so it's a good place to go catch a lot of stripers. Texoma's a big reservoir, and this time of year, man, this March wind's a big factor. Into April, it'll be slowing up a little bit. When you're trying to locate and catch those big fish, you got to catch that right day. But hey, those stripers bite better on the windy days. Texoma can get real rough, and that'll dictate how and where to fish. Captain Bill said the big stripers are fat now. They're prior to the spawn, and they're hitting on swim baits and swim jigs, slow rolling them through about 15 to 25-foot water column. Watch out for the loons feeding on the big gizzard shad. That usually gives away the place where the stripers are, and that's usually where you'll find them. Striper Express guides, they work closely together, and they stay on top of the striper, so if one's not catching, they'll get a call, and you'll be on them in a short period of time. They specialize in group trips as well and family outings, so check in with Captain Bill Carey at Striper Express Guide Service, and he'll help you plan a very memorable trip. Hey, look at a couple of pictures he sent in right here with some happy clients, and you can see the size of the stripers, and also look at the picture with one with all those kids catching fish. That's what it's about.
Oh, that's a good
That's
picture.
awesome, bud. That is so awesome.
Okay, next species, let's talk about bass over at Lake Allen Henry. That's way out on the west of the Upper Fresh region. As usual this time of year, old Lake Allen Henry is already producing some giant largemouth and spotted bass. And already 2 legacy sharelunkers have been caught from Allen Henry. Those are bass that are over 13 pounds caught between January 1st and March. So what are the odds of the same angler catching the 2 giant bass a few weeks apart? Well, that's exactly what happened. Blake Cockrell did on Allen Henry. His first sharelunker weighed 14.36, and then just 3 weeks later, he just goes back out there and catches a 13.28 on a swim bait. That's some big ones.
Those are big ones.
Guide Philip Poole with the Gone Fishing Guide Service reports that the big bass are biting good all over Allen Henry right now. They've been biting best between the cold fronts and winter's warming trend. Guide Philip Poole and his clients are catching bass on the swim baits and swim jigs in 8 to 16 foot of water, and also they're catching some now on spinner baits. The bass are running in wolf packs. By that he means when you catch one or more, there'll be a lot of them with them. They're just roaming out there and gorging on shad. Also catch some real large spotted bass, just full of eggs. The lake's full now, and fishing will get better by the week. So he sent a couple of pictures the 2 sharelunkers Blake Cockrell had, and there's a young man that catches one over 13 and one over 14 pounds, and you don't get any luckier or better than that.
Dang.
That's amazing.
All right. Hey, we're going to talk about the crappie here on Lake Fork. I've got a lot going on with bass fishing too, but this is just going too good not to mention it on the first report. The spawn was running late this year. We usually have one earlier, but with the cold rains and cold nights, backed it up a little bit. So usually they start spawning about mid-February, but they didn't move shallow to about mid-March this year. The males hit the banks first. They make the spawning nest kind of like bluegills do, and the big females, they'll suspend out in 15 to 20 foot of water before they move up. Once that water hits about 65 degrees, the big female crappie join in the males on the nest. They'll complete their spawning ritual, and that's all happening right about now in the upper end of Lake Fork in the very back of the creek. So main lake spawn will happen during the full moon here in April, and we're catching a lot of 2-pound crappie and even a 3-pounder occasionally. The largest ones seem to suspend out in that 15 to 20 foot of water, and they're down about 5 and 8 foot. Guess how we find them? We got that Garmin Live Scope, and that makes fishing these hard-to-catch crappie so much easier. My Live Scope's been the most effective tool Rick I've ever put on a boat, and it helps locate and catch those big crappies. So if you haven't seen that Live Scope in action, you can't believe how effective it is and how more and more anglers are finding out about the benefit of the Garmin and getting one on their boat. So, well, it's finally springtime here in North Texas, and all species are in the shallow water. So sometimes a good old fishing trip's all you need to make you feel great again. So good luck on your fishing, and look forward to another great year at Texas Insider Fishing. A couple of pictures of my customers with some crappies last week. How about those?
Nice. Good job, Johnny. We look forward to talking to you again next week. And I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the Upper Fresh region hotspots. Johnny says that inshore, Lake Allen Henry, big bass are showing up in 8 to 15 feet of water. The best are on spinner baits and swim baits. The water is clear with the water temps around 55 to 60 degrees. And then Lake Texoma, the big stripers are biting great. The water's lightly stained at 58 to 65 degrees, and the striped bass are good using slabs and shad imitation swim baits. Then Lake Fork, the bass and the crappie are spawning in the shallows all over the lake. Swim baits and Cincos are the best for the bass, and crappie jigs and minnows are catching the crappies there, Brie.
Those were some big bass.
Whoa.
Whoa, that was insane.
I would go crazy if I ever caught one
I
that
would
big.
stop bass fishing.
No way.
Maybe not, but just for a second, just to take it in. All right, coming right up, we're taking you down to the lower fresh region. But first, Dave is giving us just to take it in. He's giving us a little lesson or two over at the Workbench. What you got for some virtual schooling, Dave?
Well, we're going to show you how to catch some redfish and trout on the flats, because that's where they're at right now.
You promise?
On the flats.
Promise?
Oh, I don't know about promising nothing.
All right,
He's going to
Dave.
try. We'll be back.
I'm going to try.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Casa Vieja Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala. Garmin, join the club. Sportsman's Adventures, fishing for adventure. And Skeeter Performance Fishing Boats, eat, sleep, fish.
Reliability. Yamaha is known for it. And it's something boaters value, because these days, few things are built to last. When we find something that is, we hold on to friendships, traditions, outboards. Because every second on the water is sacred. If you count on having this time, you need an outboard you can count on to power it. That's why boaters choose Yamaha for the long run, for life. Because reliability starts here.
Remember the glory days of gasoline? It's just not made the same anymore.
Kick your gas into gear with StarTron. Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Cure the problems of ethanol with the power of enzymes. And maximize your mileage every time you drive. Kickstart your engines with StarTron.
Have you ever felt your heart pounding while feeling the power of a tarpon in the Florida Keys? Or experienced the changing colors of a mahi as you bring it on board? Whether it's in the Bahamas, the Florida Keys, Guatemala, or the Florida Everglades, Murphy's Law Sports Fishing has the ability to guide you to the fish of a lifetime. To book your trip today, call 305-246-0673 or go to murphyslawsportfishing.com. Well, we're over here at the Workbench, and you know what? It's time. Rigs and techniques. What are we going to talk about tonight?
Well, we're talking about catching reds and trout up on the flats, and you know, it's the springtime. And usually that's when the water starts warming up and the fish start moving in. Luckily this year the water got warm real fast, and it's kind of hot right now for the time of year. It's 75 degrees, 76 degrees, which, you know, is like late April temperatures. But that just triggers everything to start biting. So that's why they're catching so many big trout and redfish right now, because everything got warm real quick and things are moving and eating. You know, we got these big spring tides, and when they have those spring tides, everything moves up all the way up into the real shallow water, up into the, you know, the brackish lakes and stuff. They go way back up in there because they got enough water now. And that's where we're targeting a lot of these fish. And you can do it a lot of different ways. You know, we can search for them, you know, with the fish that are humping bait, or, you know, trying to get up, you know, up on, you see their hump sticking out of the water.
Would that be a time when you'd want to throw a spoon, Dave?
Well, you know, I was going to talk about the spoon, but usually when I'm throwing the spoon is when I'm trying to locate fish. Just the other day, I was fishing in a spot, and I heard there were some trout around, but I didn't know exactly where they were. So I started trolling a spoon. I was just trolling down this edge thinking, well, look around. And sure enough, I got a little trout bite. And once I got that trout bite, I turned back around, got another little trout bite on the spoon in the same spot. I said, okay, this is the spot. And I anchored up and I started throwing bait out and other things. But the spoon is an excellent search bait.
I want to show you a cool trick. You know, spoons all come with this weed guard like this.
Correct.
And unfortunately, when you pull it out, a redfish goes over and he hits that, and it hits him in the top of the throat. So what we do is we take the weed guard and we bend it out like this, okay? Now, by doing that, Dave, when it hits a piece of wood or a mangrove, it pushes the hook away, but more importantly, when he bites down, now that's below the eye of the hook. So you have to customize your weed guard, guys.
That's a good idea.
That really works.
Well, you also customize, you know, I always put a swivel and a little split ring on the front as well, especially if I'm going to be trolling the spoon or, you know, cranking it a lot, because it will twist up the line. And if you have to use a good, I got some nice swivels out here and some nice split rings. But the swivels they got nowadays, these little Spro swivels, are amazingly strong. You don't have to worry about them twisting and breaking. And not only that, unlike a ball bearing swivel, they actually twist under load.
Right.
A ball bearing swivel will not twist under load. So you can
use these, or you could use the Diamond. The Diamond makes some really cool little swivels, high grade swivels.
Correct. Well, what Bink's been catching a lot of fish on lately has been either a live shrimp under a popping cork, or a little john, or a little soft plastic under a popping cork. Usually between 1 foot or 2 feet, sometimes 3 feet deep, depending on how deep the fish are. The redfish will usually be a lot deeper in the guts and stuff now when the tide's falling off and all the stuff's falling into the troughs and whatnot. You fish with these things with a 1/4 ounce with 8 ounce jig head. The 8 ounce, if you're in fairly shallow water and you don't have to worry about it getting to the bottom real quick, and you use a little heavier one if you're in deeper water and all the fish are on the bottom. Chicken on a chain, drunk monkey, the gold flake. This gold flake color in the little john looks exactly like a shrimp.
Penny.
Yeah, it looks exactly like a little shrimp in the water. You use your
If the water's clear, do you like to throw something like the northern minnow, Dave?
Yeah, I do.
Something that matches.
I do. I like to. If I'm fishing in really dirty, dark water, I'll throw the bright colors and the chartreuses and even white and stuff like that. And then in crystal clear water, I'll throw darker stuff. Darker stuff works really good in
And when do you like to throw the hard lures?
All the time, especially if I'm having to make long casts. I like to use the little straight running jigs. What you have to worry about when you're using these baits is how to work them, because if the bait is just moving, traveling, and not really darting erratically, you don't want to move your bait like that. If you're seeing a ton of little mullet that are just streaming by in a straight line, just go ahead and crank it at the same speed without jerking it all around. If the other stuff's jerking around, then you just jerk it to try to match it.
Good job. That's the way to come out of the box. All right, Brie.
You guys are doing good, filling that space over there.
Filling the space.
I like what I'm hearing. All right, the Lower Fresh region is bubbling with life, and we have your lively guide, Matt Reed, revved and ready to go fishing on Choke Canyon, Lake Travis, Fayette County, LBJ, Somerville, and Falcon. Go for it, Matt.
All right, let's get this thing rolling. Let's get this year kicked off. I'm going to start this week off with a report from my buddy Mike Bates at Choke Canyon. The bass are in 10 foot or less of water right now, and they're finishing up the spawn. There's still a few males on the beds, but very few females left on the spawning beds. They started spawning in late December, and they're about done. Moving baits like spinner baits and chatter baits and swim baits are working really well. You also get a bunch on a Texas rig, soft plastic stick bait. Best thing you can do is cover a ton of water. The bass are getting in that post-spawn feeding mood where you're really catching a bunch every day. Brian Cotter in the Austin area with Texas Hog Guide Services sent me a report on several lakes there. On the deeper lakes, the first wave of spawning bass is up and doing their thing. There's lots of them in the shallows on Lake Travis and Canyon Lake. You can catch those fish on, stick worms, crawl worms. Also, you catch them on scrounger head with a little swim bait behind it. That type of thing in shad pattern's working really well. On LBJ, they're catching them on frogs already up shallow, and super flukes also around the grass. Another thing you can do is skip a jig up under the docks, and there's a lot of big ones that are already done, hiding in the shade of those docks. Offshore, they're catching some on mid-depth crankbaits and rattle baits off the rocks. Most of that's in 5 to 15 feet of water. Lots of action in that Austin area right now. Greg Boyd with Anglers Angle Guide Service just sent me some Lake Somerville information, and Somerville has been fishing great. Catching lots of big ones this spring. There's abundance of shad up shallow and a lot more bait around, which makes them really aggressive. Spinner baits, chatter baits, and square bill crankbaits along the rocks and shallow cover have been real good. You're also catching them flipping soft plastics, into the buckbrush and stuff. And there's been a ton of big fish caught at Somerville. Fayette County is also producing really well. The shallow grass close to the spawning flats is still holding some fish. Most of them are done spawning there. Swim jigs, swim baits, chatter baits,
and frogs around that shoreline cover has been your best chance there. Some of the bigger fish are still found offshore. You know, they're moving at 10 to 15 foot of water. They're moving out daily, and you catch those on a deep crankbait, and the Carolina rigged lizard have been the best choices for those deeper fish.
All right, tell me about the crappies there, Matt.
I've got a photo there of a bass. It was a unique fish. I caught at Falcon the other day.
What?
A lot of character with all those black spots on it.
So what do you figure that's all about, bub?
Lots of possibilities. Sure, all kinds of things, from just being handled to extra protein from the really great food supply to being around a lot of fish. So you just catch one that way every now and then.
All right, now tell me about the crappies. I got ahead of myself, sorry.
Lake Falcon crappie are biting really well in the brush piles in about 14 foot, lots of big ones. There's still some shallow in the hardwoods, but most of them are on the way back out, catching those on 8-ounce jigs. That picture there is a 2-man limit we caught the other day. Just really solid pound-and-a-half to 2-pound crappie.
Wow, that's super dude nice, man. All right, tell us a little bit about Somerville, Lake Falcon. You got some white bass stuff?
Well, the whites on both of those lakes are coming back down the rivers and the creeks. They're getting back out on the main lake. They're on those main lake points feeding on shad. You can catch them just about anywhere on a rattle bait or a crankbait.
All right, thank you so much, Matt. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the lower fresh region. Matt says that inshore, the Choke Canyon Lake is showing out, and largemouth bass are in the shallow waters. A few are left on the beds, but most are finished and feeding heavily. Throw swim baits, Cincos, spinner baits around the grass in the shallow cover, and make sure you have some fun, Brie.
I think that bass was hanging out in the pasture with the cows. That's what that looks like to me.
That's a Chick-fil-A bass, man.
All right, are you ready to get out and go fishing in the Fish Bites Upper Coast and Star Charm Middle Fresh regions? Well, have no fear. We'll be right back. But first, we want to remind you that if you want to keep up with everything fishing in Texas, make sure to visit our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and follow us and tag us in your pictures on Instagram. Also, if you miss a show or need a refresh on rigs and techniques again, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube page, Captain Rick Murphy, where you can see the show posted every Thursday amongst other fishing adventure videos. We'll be right back.
Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Contender Boats, always in the game. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. Alvy Reels, a better way to fish. And Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com.
An entirely new species of extreme predator is moving offshore. The Yamaha 5.6-liter V8 XTO offshore outboard. Extreme big block thrust and power in the industry's first direct injection 4-stroke. Quiet, efficient, powerful, and proven Yamaha reliability. More than an outboard, it's a fully integrated power system. The all-new Yamaha V8 XTO Offshore.
Why is Casa Vieja Lodge on everyone's bucket list?
Left teaser! Left flat as well, 2 fish! They're everywhere! Right flat teaser as well! Right, left flat, right flat teaser!
Come to Casa Vieja Lodge and check it off your list.
Finding a shoreline is easy. Finding a sure thing is not. For over 20 years, anglers from Kitty Hawk to California and every shore in between have come to know one thing. That nothing says no to fish bites. So just stop with the fishing and get busy with the catching. Ask for Fish Bites or Fish Bites Fight Club lures or visit fishbites.com.
Today's Power Pull tip is about the new Power Pull Charge power management station. The cool thing about the Charge is it replaces 3 systems on your boat. It replaces your traditional 3 or 4 bank battery charger, so when you're at the house, you plug it into the wall. The Power Pull Charge is going to optimize and balance your batteries like nothing ever out there. It also replaces your on-the-run charger, so anytime you've got the Yamaha running, it's going to replace the power in your trolling motor batteries and your cranking batteries all day while you're running from spot to spot. And the third thing it does, it's got an emergency start feature in it. So if you're ever out there and your cranking battery dies and you can't get the motor started, go to the Sea Monster app, transfer the power, and you're good to go. Get back to the dock. For any more information about the Power Pull Charge, you can go to powerpull.com or stop by one of your local dealers. That's your Power Pull tip.
You know, Brie, I've been using the Charge now for about a month and a half, 2 months.
Yes.
And the other day, we ran the trolling motor really hard, and we had pumps going, we had GPS, the Garmin going all day long. And I was 14 miles out in the Gulf from Flamingo and another 23 miles or so to Islamorada where we put in. When I got back, all my batteries, the battery for the motor, as well as the trolling motor batteries, were fully charged. And to be able to charge a 12-volt system into a 24-volt using an alternator is amazing. Never to been done before. Way to go, Power Pull.
Yep, and it also becomes a safety thing
as
well, too.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's now see what the offshore and inshore bite is looking like in the Fish Bites Upper Coast region, brought to you by Captain Carl Weston. Welcome to a new season, Carl. Tell us what's going on.
Hi, Rick and Bree. Great to be back for another year. So we're going to talk about some redfish first. Folks, in these winter months, finding the bait fish is going to be one of your most important parts of your trip. So even though March brings you a lot more sunny and warm days, the bait fish is going to be scarce. Try and find some mold or shad, and you'll most likely find the fish. Look for ripples on top of the water, and also use your sonar to locate these pods of bait suspended under the surface. The water temp right now in Sabine Lake is in the mid-60s. So try the shell flats next to your channel drop-offs. There's been plenty of slot reds in this area in the past few months. As far as lures go, I would recommend trying a mirror lure suspended twitch bait. This bait has proven to be great over the last few months. And I believe we have a picture here of Mr. Mark Castor with a nice redfish.
Nice. Beautiful picture, Carl. Good job. All right, tell us a little bit about the trout, bud.
All right, moving on to the trout bite. It's been a little hit or miss this spring with the high winds and the rainy weather. Bite's been slow at best. But between cold fronts, we've had some very nice Texas weather. Now, it'll require some looking. These trout have been moving around a lot. Your best bet is to try to target these fish in the cleanest water you can find. As far as bait goes, we've been using the Mirror Lure Little Johns or the Bass Assassin, lime green, and a paddle tail on an 1/8" jig head. And like with the redfish, when you find the bait, you're going to find your bounty. And I believe we have Mr. Mike Castor with a beautiful trout here today.
Yep, man.
Another
Those
pretty
are really
picture.
good looking. You've been working on your pictures, dog. I like it.
All right, Rick. Wahoo we start out with every year, and we're going to do the same again because the offshore bite has been hot this winter. The East and West Flower Gardens have been two of the fishermen's favorite as far as spots to go for and go to. They've been consistently providing some beautiful wahoo in these winter months. There are many underwater structures, large water structures that hold good-sized wahoo here in the Upper Coast, and trolling is definitely the preferred method when trying to hook up on these fish. Now, I personally like to fish with a skirted ballyhoo on a weighted jet head for these fast fish, but a naked ballyhoo works just as well. We also troll large deep divers in dark various colors. Now, R&R Tackle makes a phenomenal high-speed trolling lure. The Wahoo Magnet Senior, this lure comes in a pre-rig, has heavy hooks, cable, everything, making them fish ready right out of the packaging. I highly recommend them. They have had great success with these lures. And we have a picture here today of Mr. Jeremy Turner, a really good friend of mine with a gorgeous Texas winter wahoo.
Nice. Nice, Carl. All right, well, you got one more giddy up to go, so what do you got for me offshore still?
Well, they say the tuna bite has been wow from what I've heard. Oh, it's been just crazy. being so early in the year, they've been lighting up the reels on the offshore floater. There's been no shortage of bites from the, yellowfin and blackfin into the lights offshore, Rick, and the floaters Nansen and Boom Bang are offshore spars located about 100 to 125 miles out of Galveston and Freeport. These rigs are lit up like Christmas at night. They draw in tons of bait, and the tuna follow them in. And so when you get a weather window, try to get out there. I highly recommend getting out to one of these spots and get the wasabi ready, because the bite is just super hot. And I got a picture here of myself with a decent-sized Texas yellowfin.
Decent.
Why you look so sad, dog? You look like
that's his happy face.
That thing beat you like a dog. That's why he looks like that.
It was a long day, boss.
Yeah, I see. Yeah. All right, thank you so much, bub. We'll talk to you again next week, and we're gonna go ahead and take a look at the mirror lure hotspots from the Fish Bites Upper Coast region. Carl says that if you're gonna go this week, you might wanna go inshore. Look for the redfish on the drop-offs near the shelf flats on the suspending twitch baits. Try a mirror lure 52M in chartreuse and silver. And then offshore, wahoo at the flower gardens on the rig, ballyhoo, and deep divers in dark colors. The R&R tackle wahoo magnet that we showed you in purple and black, that's probably gonna catch them, Brie.
Probably, just like it caught Carl, his decent-sized tuna.
Man, he did
huge.
So good on his pictures.
He did.
Man has...
He got a new app.
He has found out about Photoshopping.
Technology.
Yes.
All right, Matt Loder is now on the line in the Star Charm Middle Fresh region with some hot topic info on Toledo Bend, Sam Rayburn, LBJ, and Buchanan. Matt, welcome back, and congrats to you and your wife on your new fishing partner coming your way soon.
And fishing's been great, so life's been pretty good for me lately. Got a baby on the way and the fish are biting. Can't ask for much more than that. I'm going to start by talking about the bass this week. On Toledo Bend first, we're in full-blown spawn mode around here. What I mean by that is that we have fish in every phase of the spawn. The early moving females are already done laying their eggs, and they're in that post-spawn phase. Some are still in the process of nesting, and then a lot are still waiting to move in and get on a nest. But shallow has been the deal. So you're going to want to focus on the bedding areas and fish about 1 to 4 foot deep around wood or grass. The 1-2 punch that's been working for me is a Bass Assassin Boss Shiner swim bait, either the Big Boss or the Little Boss in the Chico's Red Ear color. And then the Bass Assassin Pure Craw has been really good as well, fished on the bottom in Watermelon Red. Kind of lean on the swim bait during the windy or the cloudy days, and then the crawl when it's a little more calm out. Over on Sam Rayburn, similar kind of pattern is working, but I'm focusing more there on the grass. There's a lot of hay grass, there's some hydrilla, and there's some coontail to fish. 2 to 6 foot of water has been the deal, but once again with the fish in all stages of the spawn, some of the bigger fish are coming on the deeper side of that in the hydrilla and the coontail. But 2 to 4 foot around the hay grass will get you the most bites. So pick your poison. The Bass Assassin Fat Job has been the ticket over there, fishing it up in those weeds. Sometimes I'm Texas rigging it with a lightweight, and then other times I'm throwing it weightless. Watermelon Red and Green Pumpkin have been the best colors for me there because the water's really, really clean. Then down at LBJ, my friend Jared Poole with Hill Country Hammer Guide Service has been taking advantage of some great fishing as well. He mentioned to me that the fish are in full-blown spawn there as well. Canals are holding a lot of bedding fish, and so are the backs of the coves and the seawalls. Texas rig stickworms have been the best for him on that lake. And then he's also been catching some spawning bass on Lake Buchanan. He said that the beds in the backs of the feeder creeks and coves are the place to use a Texas rig crawl or a jig, but he's also finding big pre-spawn females fishing on the flats in about 5 foot of water using a bladed jig and a spinnerbait. And I've got a photo here for you of Jared with some real nice bass he's been catching.
All right, what else you got for us this week, bub?
We're going to talk about some crappie. They've really turned on at Toledo Bend. It was tough for a few weeks there. Things were kind of crazy, but the Living the Dream Guide Service guides have really got them dialed in now, and they're catching some shallow over the stumps and grass, and then they're also catching others out a little deeper, staging on the bridges and on the points. Jigs are working well on the shallow stuff, and then live minnows have been the best on the deeper stuff. And I got another photo here for you real quick of my fellow LTD guide, Michael Shanley. He's got a 3-pound crappie right there.
That's a nice one there, boss.
Oh, yeah. I mean, truly a once-in-a-lifetime crappie. For you guys who are real crappie fishermen, you know how rare that is to catch one over 3 pounds, and that's one you're looking at right there. It's once-in-a-lifetime fish. Awesome deal.
All right.
Then lastly, real quick, I'm going to talk about the catfish. On Toledo Bend, they're pretty much always biting. They're kind of like Old Faithful. There's just so many of them in this lake. They're just always biting somewhere, and they're extra tasty. So go to the shallows for them right now. They've been hanging out in about 2 to 10 foot. I've even caught some on my bass baits lately. They're just everywhere. But to target them, you'll want to use either cut bait or live minnows fished near the bottom, about 6 to 18 inches off the bottom.
All right, Bub, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Middle Fresh region. Matt says that inshore the bass are spawning all over the Middle Fresh region right now on focus on the shallows and 1 to 5 foot depth with Texas rigged plastics and swim baits. Crappie and catfish are hanging out around those flats as well as biting minnows and cut bait.
Crappie, well, the weight to beat is 3 pounds. That was
wow.
Big crappie.
So beautiful, too.
So beautiful. Okay, Texans, coming at you next is your Garmin Lower Coast Region Captain. But first, we have to see what new products Dave has for us at the Workbench. Dave, I know you've been collecting, so let's see.
But first, we're going to talk about these cool AFCO knives. Look at that. Look at
Dave,
that. Look at that.
You're getting close to your fingers, Dave.
Look at that. I'm telling you.
We're going to call you Shorty. You keep
sharp knife.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Ameritrail. Load, launch, relax. Turn on the bite anytime. Tie on a MirrOlure. Diamond Fishing Products. Our reputation is on the line. And StarTron. Cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems.
At the pinnacle of super high output, 4-stroke outboard performance, you'll find Yamaha VMAX SHO. Yamaha's game-changing SHO technology. From exhilarating V6 models to the sleek inline 4s, there's a VMAX SHO for everything from bass to bonefish. It's an extended family of 4-strokes engineered for lightweight, inspiring performance, and rock-solid reliability. Discover VMAX SHO and elevate your expectations.
Hey! Yeah! Yeah, that's what I'm
The only reel with over 100 years of heritage. Alvi reels are manufactured using the most reliable components. Alvi's state-of-the-art drag and retrieve rates are perfect for any fishing challenge. So whether it's a side cast or spinning reel, Alvi makes a reel that best fits your needs. Alvi reels are manufactured to best practice standards and are in fact so robust that the Alvi also comes with up to a 10-year salt and sand warranty. For more information, go to alvius.com.
Dave, we're here at the Workbench once again, and before we went to the break, you scared me with this AFCO knife.
Yeah, that thing's pretty sharp, man. I've taken a lot of knives out of a package that were sharp. that thing is wicked sharp. That's the 12-inch fillet knife. It's made out of Boker. It's a German 416 German stainless steel. It's got a full tang, which means that the steel runs all the way through the handle for really good control. It's got a 56 to 58 Rockwell hardness, which means once you get it sharp, it's really hard for it not to stay that way. It stays sharp for a long time. As big as it is, you go ahead and show them how limber. It's still pretty flexible. You could get in there and go around the bones and whatnot.
Exactly.
It's got the AFTCO Gold 10 treatment, which keeps a lot of the corrosion off, and the really nice ergonomic handle with the rubber grip there, textured polypropylene. Yeah, ergonomic, and a very good textured polypropylene grip for when it gets wet, and that's what you're always doing. Plus, it comes with a sheath inside there, 12-inch sheath.
Yes, sir.
They make several sizes too, by the way. You can get. I had to use my teeth to chaw that thing open.
Why didn't
just
you
about.
ask me? I have my little trusty.
I know. Yeah, I know.
knife.
I don't have that. the dang airport always takes mine.
Yeah.
Next, we have the jaw lures. This is called the bill collector, and what this is, it's a teaser lure combo. You got a 7-inch little skirt up in the front, and it's getting chased by the big chugger here. A 12-inch chugger.
It's crazy how they did this, Dave. This is
it's pretty
just
cool,
so
isn't it?
cool. So you're pulling this. Here, grab that.
Right.
So you're pulling this, and this is your teaser for your
correct
chugger.
Yeah, he's hanging back there, chugging away behind the little teaser, and they'll come up there and eat that chugger bait. Sometimes they'll eat that little teaser one. We don't care if he does that.
Yes, we do.
He'll come back and get the other one. XL bubble holes, with a glow head. It's 300-pound leader, and it's 2 skirts are better than 1, right?
Yeah, man.
That's what they always say.
Oh.
Bill collector. All right, next we got the release ruler. These are really cool. A guy here in Florida, makes them, but he makes them for all different species and for all different states. Actually, he's got a deal with all the different states and tells you what kind of size restrictions are for every one, and it gives you a little. Once you do by the length, it'll also give you an estimate of the weight. What's really cool is he does a marlin one as well, and you're thinking, oh, how can you measure a marlin to tell how big it is?
Yeah, how do you, Dave?
Well, there's a secret. A blue marlin or a white marlin, any marlin fish, a big blue marlin or a big black marlin, their stump, the base of their tail.
Base of the tail.
If the base of that tail is 20 inches, that means he's a 1,000-pounder. That means he's huge. So what this does is we can measure, you would go from this end, but you would measure the stump, and try to get all the way up there to that 20-inch range.
Wow.
And once you get up to 20 inches, you can say, aha, this is the one we want. And you can take that one because he's gonna weigh the 1,000 pounds. But releaseruler.com, they make a lot.
Come with a belt buckle. You
can actually turn this into a belt. Actually, you can wear it, all day long. You put this little doodad in here and close it, and it creates a belt clamp. So it's really cool.
Wow. All right, so what do you got here, Dave?
We got the Edison Comfort grips. These things you can put, if you have a place on your boat where you need to have a nice handhold, if you got a slick spot or something, people are always grabbing there and can't get a hold of it, this is what you need. You can put these things anywhere. They come in 8-inch sections or 12-inch sections. You can put them on your grab rails. You can put them on a steering wheel if you want. Any place where you need to get a little bit of a handle. They fit on 1 to 1.25 inch diameter railings, and they have adhesive strips on the back of them. So once you put them where you want them, that's where they stay. Really cool little thing. You can put.
And they come in black. They come in gray to match a silver wheel. So I mean, that's the cool part is, like you said, anywhere.
Any place you need to get a swim platform, when you're trying to climb, that's where a lot of people
be on
slip.
your skeet or grab rail, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Edison.
All right, Brie,
grip.
we got one more region to grab, so where are we going next?
Yes, we do, but right next to me, I have some new products myself that make up this bucket full of everything you'll need to sit back, relax, and watch the show. To win, all you need to do is go to the Captain Rick Murphy YouTube page, subscribe, like this episode, and comment your favorite catch, which I think you could do. I spy some wine and some socks. That's looking good to me. All right, it could be trout, it could be reds, wahoo, or snapper, and all of them sound good. So let's let Captain Chad Kinney in the Garmin Lower Coast region give us the inside scoop. Good to hear your voice again, Chad.
Yeah, Toby, I'm really pumped up. I always love the beginning of the season. We got lots of stuff coming up. We'll be looking for pelagics and weed lines and all the seasonal changes and stuff like that. So I'll give you good heads up what's going on exactly right now, starting with the inshore and stuff like that. Trout fishing's been good out of Port Mansfield. The fish been hanging out around the deeper drop-offs and the grass beds there. And redfish are still out there deeper also, more in the sand and stuff like that, in the deep pits and the drop-offs. The trout fishing, they've been really good. When targeting these trout this time of year, best thing to use is live shrimp with a popping cork. And then throughout the spring, the shrimp will actually start to fall off and the bait will switch over to like croaker and spot croaker and stuff like that. So what I mean by this, we've got shrimp boats that work for our marina, and they'll go out there and they'll be catching all the way, it's seasonality-wise, but it'll say end of April, and all of a sudden it'll fall off within 2-3 days, it'll be done. And those trout pretty much stop feeding on the shrimp, and they'll start moving over to fries like croaker, spot croaker, everything else like that. So when that happens, you can adjust your lure sizes, what you're throwing, the adjustment on that, and also if you're using live bait, adjust to the croaker. So when you're using the live shrimp for the trout, use a 25, 30-pound Amoy leader. I like using that. About 30 inches leader line there when you're fishing that 4 to 5 foot of water in the grass beds. It keeps it right above the grass. And the main thing on this thing when you're drifting, I see people do it all the time, you got to really keep the slack out of that line, but you got to really pop it really hard. If you set the hook to pop the cork and it's barely moving, you just got way too much slack in there. You got to really pop it, do it several times to make plenty of noise to attract the fish, and you'll end up having a lot more bites that way. Got a great picture of a trout picture. It was a little over 30 inches, caught here out of Mansfield by J.R. Rodriguez, BDS Charters. It was a little over 10 pounds, and they released it there. And I was caught on live shrimp and popping cork.
Nice.
Moving over, there's a stud. Moving over to redfish. Redfish, like I said, it's been pretty good, but it's been kind of hit and miss on the lures. The guys that are more productive right now are fishing cut bait. I think that has a little bit more to do with the wind. March winds here are, pretty steadily blowing either south or a little bit north in the northern hits. So try fresh mullet on the bottom in the sand pockets or off the drop-offs there. If you're drifting and you got a decent day and you can see the potholes and stuff like that, you can cast that cut bait into the potholes and let it sink down like that, slowly receive the slack out like that, and go ahead and keep on repeating the process until you get a redfish bite on there. And the calmer days also, there's been some good fish out around the jetties, go around the north side of the jetties here in Fort. 4 days, been some good fish up there too on the jetties, some redfish. We do that, cut bait on the bottom or live shrimp, pop cork along the rocks. Still producing some good stuff with that also. Moving over to the offshore, state water snapper continues to be really good here on the lower coast. You get around the wrecks, structures, and there's some wahoo that's been out there deeper in that 200 to 400 foot range. The state water snapper, like I said, along the lower coast, has been good. The best thing to do is kind of look for some conditions. I know it's hard to pick sometimes when guys are like, look, this is my only weekend I got off, I could go fishing. But if you backtrack, maybe like Noah Buoy or anything else like that, see what the conditions have been. If you have a 2-3 day window where it's been real nice all the time, that's going to be your best bet because the current's going to be a lot better, water clarity's going to be better and everything else, so fish will be on a better bite. But they've been holding in about 50 to 90 foot of water this time of year. Like I said, with higher winds in northern still trying to push it down, I recommend, definitely take on the boat, bank weight, 8 to 16 ounce bank weight with an Eagle Claw circle hook, 10 to 12 aught. Use fresh bait, which you can. Use a squid, cigar minnows, or definitely fresh bait. We call it OSB, offshore bait off our boats. We'll bag it up in 5-pound batches. We'll have spot croakers, pogies, and all that stuff like that. And the guys love taking that out. It's not dirty and stuff like that. Offshore squid. And when these currents are higher and stuff like that, fish on the bottom, but also keep your eye out for your Garmin sonar. I'll keep a real good look on that. Once in a while, you see some suspended fish come through like that. If you see them come through a little bit like that, throw some of that chum out in smaller chunks out the back end. If you're sitting around anchor or even drifting, and see if you get some triggers or some bigger snapper moving up. Get those bigger snapper, go ahead and tie direct from a Amoy mono. And just the key thing is to pitch it out there and keep feeding it. Don't stop it, and those fish will come up and you'll see them hit it. So we got a great picture here of Bubba Zittle, who works with me on the Bam Bam. They went and caught a 20-pound, and this fish was caught in 50 foot of water on a free line like that with a lizard fish.
Nice, Chad. All right, tell me about the wahoos, bub.
Yeah, so wahoo, they're moving out. They're not huge numbers, but I've seen guys anywhere from 4 to 8, 9 fish a day, which is pretty good. They're hitting on some deeper oil rigs in structure along the lower coast. Definitely try some Islanders rigged with ballyhoos, great. Put it on a plane if you want to get down a little bit deeper, if the fish are down a little bit deeper. The mirror lure divers working really well also, but make sure, of course, rig that stuff with wire guys. These fish have a super sharp teeth, and they're going to cut through anything like that. So definitely get it with a wire and check your baits and everything else after every hit and stuff like that. Also, a big thing on safety-wise, remember when you're boating these wahoo, whatever cooler you got, have a guy open with it behind the back, make one good gaff shot in the head and swing it right in the cooler and close it. You can mess with the fish later, but you don't want to ruin your fishing trip for the day by getting whacked by a wahoo or the lure that's in its mouth.
All right, thank you so much, Chad. You were on fire tonight, bub. Look forward to next week and hearing what you got going on. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the lower coast hot spots. He says offshore, Port Mansfield has been good for trout and redfish. And then offshore in state waters, snapper fishing has been good with some wahoos out deeper and around a lot of that structure. What do you think, Brie?
I think we've had our first good show.
Man.
This is
in our
awesome,
new
guys,
palace.
in our new place.
In
our new happy space.
That's it.
And you know, we're in a new place. We have some new sponsors.
Yeah, we got Alvy and we got Diamond and we got Eagle Claw and Skeeter, and we're gonna be telling you guys all about some of the new products that they bring to the Texas market and the Texas people. So
yeah,
I'm
really excited about that Alvy ones too, because they're gonna really like those down the surf areas.
We did.
Those things
the
are
surf
awesome.
and their new spinning
reels
reels
too
are crazy.
Pretty cool.
And the fly
very,
reel.
very far cast.
Well, I didn't even know about that one.
Oh, Dave.
I'm just catching up.
Just catching up.
Dave.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for
Sneaking
tuning in. Make sure you try and get out there this weekend, have some fun, smile, be safe, be healthy, and
Look at
there
the
it
number.
is. We'll see you next week.
Number one.
Number one.